Mr. Henry. Hello, Mr. Henry. Hello, Mr. Henry. You want to talk? You are free to talk. Want to say something? Okay. Now let me go to my DAX query. Okay. Just as I said, whenever you want to run a query in DAX, you start with. Whenever you want to run a code in DAX, you start with evaluate function. At the end of this class, I'm going to show you how you can download and install the software and how you can load data into the DAX Studio. But let us continue with the class. Towards the end of the class, I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, whenever I want to run a query in DAX Studio, we are going to use the evaluate function. You start with the word evaluate function. Now, when you type the evaluate function, um, what do I want to evaluate? I want to see the sum of sales. I want to see the total sales of the sales amount in the sales table. I'm interested to see the total sales of the sales amount in the sales table. I'm interested to see the total sales of the sales amount in the sales table. So the first thing you need to reference in that, you have to reference the table name, which is sales. Then the column in which you are interested in will be the second thing you need to reference. That is the sales amount column. And you type in bracket close. When you type in bracket close, you highlight this. Now, when I run this particular query now, DAX is going to give me an error in running this query. Now, why the DAX was running this query? You can see the amount of the how many minutes it takes DAX to run that particular query. You can see the number of minutes it takes DAX to iterate this particular query. Now you can see it's giving me an error. Now, so if you are expecting a single value, a scalar value from your query. Now in that, in order for it to run, you have to include a curly bracket. Now this curly bracket doesn't go with all version of DAX. This curly bracket doesn't go with all version of DAX. There are some version of DAX that you don't need to use the curly query. So when you run your code and it's not giving you error, there is no need for you to use the curly bracket. But in my own particular case, it gives me an error message. So I have to use this curly bracket. So I use this curly bracket. The next thing to do, you have to highlight the code. You have to highlight your query. You highlight your query and hit on the run button, or you press F5 on your keyboard. But when you hit on the run button, Power BI is going to, now you can see that has run that particular query. Now you can see the value of this query. You can see the value of the total sales amount. Total sales amount is about 109 million and something. So that is the total sales amount. Now this is an example of a measure in DAX. So let's see another example of a measure in DAX. Remember I told you a measure gives you a single value, a measure gives you an aggregate value, a measure and that aggregate or single value represents something. So simply put, a measure in DAX is simply your summary statistics, the mean, the minimum, the maximum, all the standard deviation, all this represents a measure in DAX. All this represents a measure in DAX. So let's go back to let me go back to my PowerPoint. Let me bring up my PowerPoint slide. So now in our PowerPoint, let's see another example of measure there. Another example of measure we have the standard cost. Now I want to see the total standard cost also, I want to see total standard cost. Also, I'm also interested to know the number of rows in the sales table. So let's go back to DAX. These are example of measures. So let's see that's how we can do that in DAX. These are example of a measure. So let's see how we can do that in. So now you hit on enter. So let me hit on enter so I can move downward. Now, recall I said whenever you want to run a query in DAX, you start with evaluate. The moment you type the evaluate function, DAX is going to bring up the function, the autofill function. You select DAX, press on the shift key of your keyboard and enter. You can use that, or you press just the enter key of your keyboard. Now, when you press the enter key of your keyboard, the next you will need to do, is to type the sum. Now that is a sum, bracket open. Now I'm interested in the column. I'm interested in the column of the product standard cost. Now the product standard cost, the column is located in the sales table. Now this is the sales table. Now when you go to the sales table, you'll see a column known as product standard cost. So I want to see the total amount of this particular, of the total amount of the values in this particular column. So I'll type evaluate then sum. I'm going to reference the table in which the column is located because I have a lot of tables here on my right hand side. So for that to be able to know the exact table I want to calculate the total product, I have to specify the table name first, then followed by the column. Now you can see the table name followed by the column. I'm interested in sales product standard cost. Now you can see the table name first, then the column. You click on that, type in bracket, close. Now recall the sum is going to give me a single value, it's going to give me a measure. We're looking at examples of measure. It's going to give me a measure. Don't worry, when we get to the main training, I'm only trying to lay a foundation. I'm going to talk more on the sum functions. I'm going to talk more on their arguments, and I'm going to tell you the rules of using the sum function in Power BI. But we are still trying to lay a foundation for the training today. So the moment I do that, the next I need to have to align this and click on the run button. Now you can see that is giving me what, an error sign. Now because this query is going to give me a single value, now my version of that I need to use a curly bracket. Most versions of that now you need to use a curly bracket. So I have to use a curly bracket before I run this query. And to run the query, you have to select or highlight that particular query, then you click on run. Now you can see I can have an output now. Now if I want to do that in Power BI, I want to see the total. I'm interested to see the total product cost, total product standard cost in Power BI. Now this is my Power BI screen. What I need to do, I need to click on new measure, or I go to my modeling menu. Once I click on the modeling menu, I click new measure because I'm interested in a measure. I want to calculate a measure. Remember I said, why do we learn DAX? We learn DAX in order to calculate or calculate a measure, in order to calculate a calculated columns, in order to create or calculate a calculated tables. So we have measures here, we have columns, and we have tables. These are the three main reasons why you use DAX. Now, I want the total product standard cost. The total product standard cost will give me a single value, and that single value is a measure. So all I need to do is to click on what? New measure. The moment I click on new measure, Power BI is going to give me opportunity. Now I'm interested to know the total standard cost. So the first and foremost, you have to give that function a name, total standard cost. Now that is the name I want to give my particular formula or function. Now total standard cost, the next thing you need to do, you have to put equals to. Now this is Power BI platform. I want to run DAX query or DAX code on Power BI platforms. I don't have to use evaluate here, neither do I have to use the curly bracket here. So you can see what I did was to type total standard cost. What I did was to type the total standard cost there. What I did was to type the total standard cost. Now, then I type the sum because I want to sum all the values of the total standard cost. So I have to use a sum function because I want to sum all the value. Then I'm going to locate the column. This is a column. Type a bracket close and hit on enter. Then when I type a bracket close and hit on enter, you can see that will actually perform that analysis. So now the very when I hit on enter, that will perform this analysis. Now you can see where that brought the results. Now you can see this is another table, calendar table. Now that is one thing again you need to know. Why using DAX on Power BI? That's the reason I said earlier on that the platform in which you want to run DAX, you should have a little bit of knowledge of that platform, except you want to run it on DAX Studio. Now you want to run it on DAX Studio, on the platform of DAX Studio, then you don't really need any knowledge of Power BI, Excel, or any other software to learn to run DAX on it. Now you can see on DAX platform here, because Power BI now has a platform for DAX separately. So you can use it also to run that. You can see on the platform, you use the evaluate. Why in this particular case, I'm not using the evaluate. Now you can see where the measure I just created is in this particular table known as calendar table. That's the total standard cost is now it is on calendar table. So if when you want your measure to fall on a particular column, the first thing you need to do, you have to click on that particular column where you want your measure to apply, or where you want your measure to appear. Now, all I need to do is to now click and drag and drop here. Recall this is Power BI platform, not DAX platform. Then I click on the card visual to change the value. Now you can see what is giving me here 43.97 million. Now when you go to DAX, you can see it's giving me similar thing. They both gave me similar results. Running the total product standard cost on DAX platform gives me 43 point something million, 43 and something million. Running it on the Power BI platform is still giving me the same results. So these are an example of a measure. Let's see another example. Let's move forward. I'm going to bring my PowerPoint screen. I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint screen. Now, I told you we have the implicit and the explicit measure in DAX. Now, what's the difference between the implicit and the explicit measures? Now, the implicit measure, the difference is that it's control. Now, you can control your implicit measure. Now, you can decide to use, you can control it. You can use it anywhere you want to use it. You have the power and the ability to do whatever you want to do with it. But the implicit measure, you can't really control that. You can also connect it to your word report. You can see I dragged and dropped it on the PowerPoint. Now then let me change my slide. Let me go to PowerPoint. Let me explain that particular point. Let me explain that particular point there. Now the implicit and explicit measure. Now in this particular case here, I already have my total standard cost here. Now let me remove this here. Let me go to my sales table. This is my sales table. In my sales table, in my sales table, in my sales table, now in my sales table, this is my product standard cost. This is my product standard. I drag and drop this in this particular place. Now you can see it's giving me the same value why I used the formula. I make use of the formula in bringing this value. Why this I only drag and drop here, and Power BI automatically use the DAX automatically use the implicit function to calculate the sum. So if I want to change that, I can click on this. When I click on this, I can see the implicit function in DAX. I have the sum, I have the average, I have the minimum, I have the maximum, I have the count distinct, and I have the standard deviation. So now you can see the implicit. I might want to change this to average. It gives me the average product standard cost. Now these are all implicit what measures. Now, but these are the implicit measure where I calculated this using the DAX formula. I calculated this using the DAX formula. Now you can see that the DAX formula here, I calculated it using the DAX formula. You can see both gave me the same result, but this, I can use this anywhere I want to use it. I can control it. And also if you mistakenly delete a particular either a particular column or you delete something in your model, it will not easily affect the implicit measures. So it's advisable, instead of using this implicit measure to create visualization or to create a report, it's better you use the explicit measure, that is in Power BI. Why in DAX? Remember, DAX, we don't create visualization. It only gives you an output like this. All you need to do is to copy that output. Now, when I copy this output, now I've clicked on copy. If I want to paste this output on Excel, all I need to do is to go to Excel. Now I've clicked on copy. Let me paste this value in Excel. I'll go to my Excel screen. I'm going to open my Excel screen. Let me put up my Excel window. Give me a minute. Let me put up my Excel window. I'll go to my Excel screen. When I go to my Excel screen, I'm going to paste that particular value I just copied. Give me a second. Let me bring up my Excel screen. Okay. So I've copied that value. I've copied the value. Now I want to paste it on my Excel screen. So let me put up my Excel screen. Now that is my Excel screen. So since I've clicked on copy, all I need to do is to click on a cell and press and Control V, or go to the home menu and click on paste. You can see the value is pasted in my Excel spreadsheet. So once you run your DAX query in the DAX Studio, you can copy the results, you can copy the output, and you take it to Excel and paste it there and use it to create different types of visualization. That is different types of report charts. You can use it to create different type of chart, the line chart, the bar chart, the line chart, the bar chart, the pie chart, whatever visualization you want to create with that report. You can copy after running your query in DAX Studio. You can copy that and you take it to Excel and you paste it on Excel. So you can see I pasted that in my Excel spreadsheet. So now these are examples of measures in DAX, that is implicit measure. So that's an example of implicit measure in DAX Studio. So let me pick up my Power BI slide. So let me bring this. Okay, fine. Now, another time again, you need to understand why using that is calculated columns. What are calculated columns? A calculated column is a column that you add to an existing table. Now, in that, once you already have a table, in DAX, you already have a table in DAX. You already have a table in DAX. You can add more tables in that particular to that particular table by using a, a function in DAX. So once you use a function in adding, you want to use a function to add a column to a pre-existing column in DAX, it is known as calculated word columns. So when a calculated column contains a valid DAX formula, values are calculated for each rows as soon as the formula word is entered. Okay, now let's see an example here. Now, I want to create a column known as profit. Uh, I want to create a column known as profit column. I want to create that column too. I want to create a column known as profit. I want to create a column known as profit, and I want to create a column not as profit. I want to add it to the product table, and also I'm going to So I want to add it to the product table. So let me bring up my Power BI screen. So let me bring up my Power BI screen now. So let's create known as product. Now recall we start with what evaluate. Okay. Now remember in that platform we don't really have the column, we don't have the table. So if I want to create a calculated column, I have to do that in Power BI. I have to do that in Power BI screen. I want to add a column to my existing table. I have to do that in Power BI screen. So I have to add that in Power BI screen. So then this is my Power BI screen and this is my table. This is my product table in Power BI. That is my product table in Power BI. That's my product table in Power BI. Now in my product table, I have the list price. I have the standard cost. I have the standard cost and I have the standard cost, I have the list price, I have the standard cost. I have the list price, I have the standard cost. Please give me a minute. Someone wants to log in. Okay. Now I have the list price, I have the standard cost. Now I'm interested to know the profit. Okay, I might decide to say I want to use the list price and minus the standard cost to get a profit, and I'll create an additional column here known as what profit um, in this particular table. Now, since I want to create a table, I go to modeling menu. Now I'm working on Power BI platform now. I'm not on DAX platform. I'm on Power BI platform. You go to new column. You click on new column. Don't worry, when we go get to the main training, you will understand that I'm really trying to lay a foundation just for you to understand the terminologies all these calculated columns, measures, and so on. Now I want to create a column known as profit. Now you can see I clicked on new column, not measure, because I want to create a new column and not measure. So now I type on that profit. I now go to, like, once I type on profit, well, when I type on profit, um, when I type on profit, I've already calculated the total list price, and I've already calculated the total cost. I already have the total list price and also the total cost. Okay. Um, I want to I want to expand the table. Now this is my sales table here. I already have the total sales here. I already have the total product cost here. Now you can see I already calculated the total product standard cost. I already gotten the value for that. I also have already calculated the total sales here, and I've gotten a value for that. Now this is the total sales, and this is the total product standard cost. Let me drag and drop there. Now you can see the value. Now this is the total sales, this total sales, and this total standard cost. No, sorry, total standard cost, total product standard cost. Okay, let me see. Okay, sorry, I brought up the same thing. Now let me bring the total sales. I already calculated the total sales. This is the total sales. Now this is the value for the total sales. Now I'm interested to know the profit. So I want to create a column. Now I want it to appear in the product table. I'll click on the product table first, or I click on any column in the product table. Then I click on new column. Then when I click on new column, because I want to create an additional column on the product table, you can see it has already brought out the added a column there, and you can see it's giving me the zigzag sign to tell you that it's a calculated column. So now I want to name that as profit. That's the first thing you do. Equals to, now I'm on Power BI platform. I'm not on DAX Studio platform. Now on DAX Studio platform, you start with evaluate. Because on DAX Studio platform, we cannot add column to existing column. We can only do that on Power BI platform. So that's why I came to Power BI platform. So now I'm going to bring my total sales, which I've already calculated, which is this value. That is the total sales minus, I use the minus sign. I press the minus sign on my keyboard. That's the dash sign on my keyboard. After the minus, I need the um, total sales minus total cost. Total sales minus the total cost. Okay, this is a total standard cost, and I hit on enter. Now when I hit on the enter button, Power BI is going to calculate that. Now when I hit on the enter button, Power BI is going to calculate that. Now I'm giving that as profit. Recall it is located in the profit table. Now if I want to drag and drop here, is sorry, this gives us a scalar value. Sorry, we have to use, sorry, is the list price minus the standard cost. I've made a mistake there. Let's go back there. The okay. You know what? Let's make use of the sales table. Let's make use of the sales table here. let's make use of the sales table. Let's do that using the sales table. Okay, because in our product table, what we have in our product table, what we have in our product table, what we have in our product table, we have the list price. In our product table, we have the list price and we have the list price in our product table. What we have there, we have the list price and standard cost. Okay, let's use the list price and standard cost instead of using the. Okay, let's use the list price and standard cost because this is what we have in our product table. So we go to new column and we call that profit. We call that profit equals to the product list price minus the product standard cost, and we hit on the enter button. Okay, I already have a name profit. Let's call that profit one. Let's call that profit one and hit the column. Let's hit that. Let's hit that. Okay, now we've done that. Now you can see the profit one here. You can see the profit one. So let's go to our tables. Now you can see that with a column has been added to this particular table. A column has been added to our product table. Now you can see it known as profit one. Now the reason why we have the initial error was that the value I took were from another table. That is why we encountered that initial error. So why we encountered initial error. Let me delete this off. Now recall I'm in the Power BI platform and not in DAX Studio platform. Because in DAX Studio we can create a calculated column. So that's an example of the calculated column. So let me bring up my Power BI screen. So that is an example of a calculated column. That's an example of a calculated column. So we'll see measure and we'll see a calculated column. So when we go into the training, you'll get to understand how to run this more and more. You have a better understanding of this. Okay. These are all examples of calculated column. I can also use, there are a lot of functions in which you can use to do a calculated column. Let's just move ahead. Okay, now let's see measures versus calculated column. Now, a row context calculation done on row basis and not part of table. Function is not necessarily needed. Reference a column directly, also calculated negatively. Now what we're seeing is this. In calculated column, we make use of a row by row basis. Now you can see while I was doing the calculated column, I make use of the list price minus the product standard cost. So what Power DAX is going to do is going to pick the value in the list price column, the first value in the list price column is going to look for the first value in the product standard cost column. It will subtract the value in the first value in the product standard cost column from the first value in the list price column, and that is how it's going to run that throughout the column till it reaches the end of that particular column. Now, we have different types of measure. Now, there are other measures here whereby we have the standard total standard cost divided by the total sales. And when we get into the training, now let's look at calculated tables. Now, remember we said, why do we run DAX? Why DAX? We said DAX, we use it to calculate measures, and we see some examples of measures. The second reason we run DAX is to calculate a calculated column. We see an example of calculated column. Now, the other reason we use DAX is to create a calculated tables. Now, what is a calculated table? Now, what are calculated tables? A calculated table is a computed object based on formula expression derived from all or part of other table in the same model. What we are trying to say is this: a calculated table are tables that are generated, are tables that are tables that are created or retrieved from existing table using a DAX formula or using one of the formula in DAX. That is a calculated table. Now, we have an example here. For example, the DAX query code filters the table product for products called component. Now, one of the functions in DAX that you can use to create a calculated table is a filter function. Is a filter word function. Let's see how it works. Though when we get to the main training, we are going to look at the filter function deeply. But I'm only going to do a little bit of explanation here. When we get to the main training, we'll look at all the functions we've touched, and the ones I left, we are going to look at it in details when we get to the main training. I'm only still trying to lay a foundation. So let's go to our DAX query. Let's see how the filter function works, how you can use the filter function to create a calculated table in DAX. Okay, now, so let's go to our DAX. This is the DAX platform. Now, recall I said you always start with what? Evaluate. So let's say evaluate. Now, what do I want to use? They use the filter function. Now, you can see the filter function. The filter function has two arguments. It has two arguments. Now, you read that. It said returns a table that has been filtered. The filter function will give you the values of the table that had already been filtered based on it, or a set criteria or a set condition based on a particular condition in which it already was specified in the formula. That the filter function is going to return that result. So I filter, you can see the argument. We have two filters here. One is ordinary filter, the other one is filters. I clicked on the one of filter. This is one of the functions in DAX that I can use to create a calculated column. Now it's asking the table name. What is the table name? Which table am I really interested in? I want to create. Okay, I'm interested in the product table. Now here is a product table. You can see in the product table we have different columns. We have a column known as category, colors, and so on and so forth. So I'm interested in product table. I type the product table. Now you can see the first argument here. The first argument says what? Table. Now you would specify the name of the table, or you specify an expression that will give you an output, which will be a table. Don't worry, when we get to that, you understand. Now, DAX is asking that the first argument here must be a table. So I'm giving DAX the name of a table I'm interested in, which is the product table. It's not necessary you mention the name of the table. At times, you might use an expression. We'll come to that. You might use an expression. That expression that will be evaluated to a table. In this particular example, let's use something simpler. A product. Table name known as what? Product. That's what I'm interested in. But in this table name known product, I have a column known as category. Now in my table, I have different, in my product table, you can see my product table here. I have different products there. I have some products that are components. I have some products that are accessories. I also have some products that are bikes. I have some products that are clothing. So, but in this particular case, I'm interested in the products known as components. So I said filter product, where product category is equal to, let's say, components. Components. Where the product category is equal to components. Now, you see where the product category equals component. Now I have a bracket open here. I have a bracket closed here. You can see that's highlighting it here. Now you can see both that now. Now, in other words, I'm telling that give me a table product. I want you to produce the product table, but I'm only interested in those rows that are related to components. This is what I'm telling that. I want rows that are related to components. Now I align this and click run. Now you can see that's giving me the output, the result. Now you can see in this particular case, I didn't use the curly brackets before I run this particular code or this particular query. Why? Because the results will give me a table and not a single value. Since the result I'm expecting is not a single value, I don't need to use the curly brackets. So once the result you are expecting will not be a single value, you don't need to use a curly bracket. Now you can see I can now copy this result and I go to Excel. I go to Excel and I'm going to paste it there in my Excel screen. I'm going to paste it here in my Excel screen. Now this is my Excel screen. Now I'm going to paste that result there. Remember in DAX, we don't have opportunity in DAX to create visualization except the Power BI aspect where you can run the DAX query. You can create visualization in that. So these are my results. I can start renaming the columns and then do some data cleansing and data transformation here. Or I can decide, okay, now you can see all the product. Now this is a product category. You can see it only brings out product categories that are components. You can see it only brings out product category that are what? Components. So now in this case, I can decide, okay, I want to create a chart with this column. You click on that and you go to insert chart. And what type of chart would I want to create with this? Okay, let me assume a pie chart here, and let's click on pie chart. Insert the chart. Let's click on the particular chart. So you can just click on that and you create a particular visualization with that. You can create a particular visualization. So let's not waste our time. It's taking time to come up. So once you paste the result there in your Excel spreadsheet, you can create any visualization you want to create with it. Okay, another function again we can use to create a calculated table is we can use another function that's known as calculated table. When we get to our main training, we'll go in details in each of these function. Just trying to lay the function. Now you can see the calculated table here. The calculated table is similar with the filter function we have. Now it has two arguments. The first is table. The second argument is filter. And it's telling us that we can put more and more arguments. So for instance, I'm interested in that same thing known as what? Product. And also product component equals to product category equals to components. Take note of the double quotation I make use of here. I make use of this double quotation here. I make use of the double quotation mark here. I used the Google quotation mark here. I used the Google quotation mark here. Google quotation mark there. Now you can see you can see this particular query this particular code we ran. It gave us how many rows? 189 rows. So using the calculate table function, let's use the calculate table function and run this. Let's see if we are going to have similar results with that. If we're going to have similar results with that. Now you can see we have the same number of rows. So there are different functions that you can use to create a calculated column in DAX. The one we are going to look at this function one after the other when we go get to the main training. I'm only trying to make you to know, just to acclimatize yourself, just to expose you to some of these terminologies and terms you used in DAX. We looked at why do we use DAX. We use DAX to create a measure. We've seen examples of measure. Why do we use DAX? We use DAX to create a calculated table. Why do you've seen examples of calculated tables? I see examples of calculated column. Also, I can decide to use the order by clause here. Order by. I can say order by. I can decide to. I want to order this by. That is, I want to arrange the results. I want to arrange the result by, okay, you can see the results are arranged by, that's actually arranged this result. You can see the red, after black we have red, after red we have silver. I can decide to say, I want to order it by color. In other words, I want that, after producing the result, I want to arrange it by color and then in descending order instead of ascending order. Then I run this code all over again. Now you can see the first color is yellow. Now you can see that arranging the data set in descending order. You can see the product key. The first one is 418 and the rest like that. But the moment I change this to tell that I need it in ascending order and I run the code all over again. The moment I run the code all over again, that is going to arrange that in ascending order. That's going to arrange the code in ascending order. Now you can see it starts with black. Black is the first color there. Okay, let's go to our PowerPoint screen. Let's quickly go to our PowerPoint screen. Now, what is row level security? With row level security, DAX formula must evaluate to a Boolean true or false condition, defining which row can be returned. Now, that is the row level security. Okay, let me explain that. Let's go to let me explain that the row level security. Also, a term you need to understand in DAX. Row level security. Now, when I evaluated this particular function in DAX, I told that evaluate this query, that's a product table. I'm interested in the column, in the category column, where the categories, the value, or where the category is what? Component. The product category is components. So DAX is going to look at each column. DAX is going to look at each column. DAX is going to look at each column. That's the product column. Now, that is my product table. DAX is going to look at each column and look at the product column. Now, when DAX goes to the product column, DAX is going to check if the value in that column is component. DAX is going to return all the old rows in that particular column. If it goes move to the next row, if the next row is like the next row here is accessory, DAX is going to omit that. The next is accessory, DAX will omit that. The next is accessory, DAX will omit that. The next is component, DAX is going to pick that row. That's what we call row level security in DAX. Also, we talked about row context, row level security, row context. So DAX we use a row by row operation to evaluate or to perform the analysis, the iteration on that particular table and produce the word output. So this is what we are talking about, the row level security in DAX. Now let's talk about queries. Now, row level security, a DAX formula must evaluate to a boolean true or condition. Define which rows can be. Now, what is a query? I'm talking about query. Now, all this in DAX is your query. Query simply means asking a question. So I have a set of tables here. I'm asking that set of tables and DAX to use a set of tables and give me an answer. Query is like asking someone a question. For instance, in a job, someone happens to come late. A person might be giving query. Why did you come late to work? Submit a letter and explain why you came late or why you were not. Anytime they give you a duty to perform, you don't perform that particular task on duty. Now, this is a query. Now, the person writing the letter, that letter in DAX represents the outputs, while the person writing the letter is DAX. So you are telling the person to write a letter explaining why he came late to work. Now you are telling DAX to use this query to produce a result. So the query here is all I highlighted is the query. This is a query in DAX. So when you're talking about query, this is the query. So on that time, you need to get ourselves familiar with in DAX, and we've already seen an example of that. We can also see another example using the filter function. We can also see another example using the filter function. For instance, I can decide to say, tell DAX evaluate. I want you to evaluate, use the filter function. Now, which table? Sales order table, where the sales order, I can tell DAX where the sales order okay. Let me use another table. Let's say the sales table where the sales quantity is greater than or equal to 4. Is greater than or equal to 4. Now I run this. Now you can see the sales quantity here. Now you can see the sales quantity is greater than or equal to 4. So you can see we have 5 here. So all the values that DAX is going to produce will be something equal to 4 or greater than 4. You can simply copy this and take it to your Excel spreadsheet and do whatever you want to do that with. But if you are running DAX in this Power BI platform here, You use that to create a visualization. You can use it to do one or to create a report in Power BI. But when you run it on DAX Studio, you have to have a place to copy and paste your results on it. Or you can also click additional columns here by clicking additional column and keep running your DAX. At the end of the day, you save all your file in the DAX Studio. So that is one there. Now we've seen examples of queries in DAX. Now what is formula? Now the formula simply means the function. I want to evaluate. I say I want to evaluate. Okay. What do I want to evaluate? I said the filter function. Now this is a formula. The filter function, the function and the argument makes what? The formula. So that is your formula in DAX. So another terms we need to formalize and say is the function. Now the function is the filter, for instance, is a function. The calculate table is a function. Order by is a function. Evaluate is a function. These are all functions in DAX. And all these functions are classified into various groups in DAX. So that's another term you need to know when you talk about function in DAX. Then what is naming? Now naming is what I performed here. While using the DAX Studio, you don't really use naming. But when you come to Power BI here, I created a column here in Power BI. I created a column known as, I created a measure known as total profit. Now this total profit represents a name. I've given my function a name. At times I created total sales. The total sales, I gave it a name known as total sales. This total sales here represents the name of the function or the name of my the name of this formula. Why the sum is a function, the name of the formula is total sales. So total sales is the naming in DAX. Now we have different types of data sets, different types of operations that are used in DAX. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Prepare kindly mute your mic. Okay. Let me present let me pick up my screen. Okay, we have various operations in DAX, just like Excel. They are similar, but we have two that cannot be found in Excel, like the open and close parentheses. The open and close parentheses cannot be found in Excel, and also we have the I think all other operations here we can be found in Excel. The arithmetic operation, the comparison operation, which is equals to, the greater than, the less than, greater than, equals to, arithmetic operation, the text constellation, and the logical function. Now, these are the data types we can find in DAX: the whole number, the decimal number, the Boolean expression. The Boolean expression talks about yes and no expression. The Boolean expression is the yes and no expression. We have the date and currency, and we have the data type blank in DAX. Now also we have variable. To create a variable in DAX, when we get into the training, I'm going to do that. Now we talked about row context. I talked about row context, and we talked about multiple row context. We have the filter context, and then okay, let me talk about the filter context in DAX. The filter context. So let me explain the filter context in DAX. Um, I'm going to show you how you can download the DAX, how you can download DAX and connect it to Power BI before we round up. Once is okay, let me talk on the filter context in DAX. The filter context in DAX. Now, I'm in Power BI now. This is my Power BI screen. This is my Power BI screen. This is my Power BI screen. Now, let's assume I want to create that's my Power BI screen. I want to create a table. Let me click on this table visualization. Let me bring it here. Let me expand it so you can see that. Okay, now this is my table visualization. Now I'm interested in, I want to get the these are products. I drag and drop it inside here. Now those are the products. Okay, let me try to increase the value so you get to see that very well. Okay, now that is my product. Now in this product, I want to see the sales for each of these products. This is my measure that I calculated. You can see the formula I use in calculating the total sales. I use this formula to calculate. I drag and drop it here. Now when I drag and drop it here, remember this is a measure. It only gives me this particular value, 109 million and something naira. That's the only value it gives to me. Now, when I dropped it here, because I have categories, Power BI simply gives me the total sales for categories, for bikes, for clothing, for component. Power BI quickly gives me the total sales for each of this category. This is what we call the filter context in DAX. That is what we call filter context, or at times they call it initial filter context in DAX. So filter context is a set of values allowed in each column or in the value retrieved from a related table. Now, filter context can be added when you specify a filter constraint. Now, another thing we need to understand is filter propagation. Now, filter propagation talks about how your filter flows. You recall I said throughout this training I'll be running DAX on Power BI. So you can see I can use it to create visualization on Power BI. Now, I have two tables here. I have a lot of tables here, sorry. This is the sales table and this is the product table here. Okay, now we look at my product table here. You can see my product table also on this side. Let me expand that. can see the product table here. I have values here on the product table. Also, I have values here on the sales table. The moment I pick a value, okay, let me click on the column now. So I'm going to my table, my product and my sales table. My product and my sales table. Okay, now I already have values here. This is gotten from the category is gotten from the product table. Why the total sales is gotten from the category is gotten from the product table. Why the total sales is gotten from the category is gotten from the product table. Why the total sales is gotten from the sales table. Now you can see the link between these two tables. You can see the link between these two tables. Now, product and what sales. Now, why the very moment I dropped this value for sales in this particular table, the moment I drop the value of sales in this particular table, Power BI automatically filters, use this value and filter it for each category and gives me the value for accessory, buys, clothing, and components. That is what we call. Now, how did Power BI DAX does that? How did they do that? Now, it makes use of this link between these two tables here. I have link between these two tables. Now, it makes use of that link. Now, you can see I have an arrow here. So, it filters this category. We use it to filter the value for what? This sales. Any changes that is made on this table will affect the values on this table because of this arrow. Now, this will tell you that this is the way DAX filter these two tables that are related with each other because of the line between the two. Because of the line between the two. So, this is what we call filter propagation. The filters starts from the product table to the sales table. You can see the arrow here. The filter starts from the product table to the sales table. This is what we call filter propagation. And not the other way around. The filter did not start from sales to product. No. It starts from the sales to the product table. Now, that's what we call the filter propagation. Okay. The other terms again you need to understand them in that is the cross-filtering visualization. Now, once your filtering involves two different tables or two different visuals, you are dealing with cross-filtering visualization in that, and we have initial context and the flow of initial filter context. So tomorrow we are going to see how we can create a table. We've already seen a little bit how we can create a table in DAX. Also, we are going to see how we can create a table in DAX and how we can create a table in DAX and how we can create a column and how we can create a measure. Though I've already done that there today, I've already shown you how to create the tables, how you can create a measure and how you can create a DAX. How you can create a measure, tables, and calculated column. I'm going to start from there tomorrow. Then we go into. I'm going to start from there next week Saturday. Then we move into the main thing. Okay. Before we go, I'm going to show you how you can download the DAX Studio. So I'm going to change my screen now. I'm going to bring up my Google screen so you can see how you can download the DAX and how you can connect your DAX Studio. How you can connect your DAX Studio. So I'm going to let me change my screen. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to type DAX Studio. When you finish clicking on DAX Studio, the next thing you need to do, you have to click on download. Well, when you click on download, we have various versions of DAX here, and various releases of DAX. Now you can see this particular DAX was released in 21 November 2023, and you can see the total number of people that downloaded that. You can see the current, you can see another one, 21 November. You can see other DAX studio that was released, DAX 3.0, 3.0.10. You can see that was released in 16th of August, and we can see DAX to the possible zip file. Okay, now we can decide to download any of this. Either you download the installer or you download the portable DAX file. Now I clicked on this portable DAX file. You can see it's 16 megabytes. Now I'm downloading that. So you wait for that to completely be downloaded from the site. It's still downloading. So we are going to wait for it to. You can see my download. My download is a little bit slow, so we'll wait for it to be downloaded from the site. Is a little bit slow, so let's wait for it to complete the download. Okay, you can see it's still downloading. Still taking time to download. Let me pause the download. Let me pause this. It's taking time. Let's let's hit on. I mean, this is 9.7 megabytes. I think let me pick that. I think that will be more faster. Okay. Let me just use the one on my flash. I'm going to pick the one on my flash. going to use the one on my flash. Then let me just copy and paste it. Okay. Let me get one from my flash, the one I've already downloaded. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I cannot see your screen.
Can you see it now?
No, sir, not yet. There's just a camera and it's a flash on it.
Okay. Let me pick the screen again. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. I think the one I've just downloaded. Okay. Okay. Let me install that. Now you double click on this. That's the DAX Studio. This is 3.0.5. The very when you double click on it, it will bring up a pop-up menu, and you click yes. It's going to ask, do you want this particular app to affect your system? Let me bring up my screen again. Let me change the screen. Now, okay, can you see anything? Can you see anything on my screen?
No, sir, I can't see anything from here.
Wow. Okay. That means Google is not showing it. So the very moment you click on that software, it brings up a pop-up menu asking you, do you want to this software to change anything on your system? You say yes. But when you say yes, it brings up another menu again. Once it brings up another menu, you click on next. Then when you click on this, you just click on install and it starts installing DAX on your system. Start installing DAX on your system and you wait within a second, within some minutes, it will install DAX on your system. Now, the moment you've installed DAX on your system, that means you are done with it. Then it will open DAX. It's going to open DAX. Once it opens DAX on your system, oh, let me bring up my DAX. Let me bring up my DAX studio on my system. Just give me a minute. I'm going to present my screen now. I'm going to show my screen. So it only takes just within 3 to 6 seconds for it will be installed on your system. Okay. Let me show you my screen now. Now you can see my screen. You can see my screen now. Okay, now this is my screen. Now, in my screen, you have to select where you want to connect your data set. Now, are you not seeing my screen?
No, we are not. It's visible.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Let me change the connection. Can you see it now?
It's just the camera. Visible, don't worry, continue. You can see your screen. You cancel it again.
Oh, sorry. Then I'll try to expand it on your phone. Try to enlarge it.
Is it possible, sir, that while installing those things, can you just send us a screenshot to guide us to what activity is again?
Okay, I think they are recording this. Okay, let me just continue. So the moment you are done with this, now in order for you to connect your data set to your DAX Studio, now to connect your data set to your DAX Studio, there are various ways you can do that. You can connect it via Power BI, via Tabular Server, and via my Power Pivot model. Now in this particular case, I want to use Power BI. I already have Power BI installed on my system. So I'll first and foremost import my data into Power BI. So I'm going to show my Power BI screen, and I'm going to show you how I import data into the Power BI. Then later we'll go back to DAX Studio to see how we can connect the two together. Okay, now this is my Power BI screen showing. This is my Power BI screen showing. Now this is my Power BI screen showing. Now to connect data to Power BI, you include your data to Power BI, you go to get data. And my data set is in Excel's workbook. I click on Excel and I look at where my data is on Excel. This is where my data is. Adventure work sales. I double click on that. But when I double click on that, it's going to import that data. It's going to import the data into Power BI. Let me create. I already have the data in Power BI. I already have this data in Power BI. So let me get a new Power BI to show you how to do that. The data set is already in Power BI. So let me get a new Power BI report. A new Power BI report without any data set. So let me work with that. So let me put up that screen. I'm opening a new Power BI. A new Power BI.